Hi there, happy people of the internet. My name is Chelsea and welcome to Cooking with Chelsea. Today it's my very first video, so it's pretty exciting. And I'm just gonna go over a few basics of the kitchen and what we're gonna do here. So first of all, first things first, get comfortable. Get into something you wanna cook in, whatever makes you feel confident. Because I think one of the main things about cooking is confidence. A lot of my friends say like, oh, I don't know, and things don't work, and I'm nervous in the kitchen. Get into whatever makes you feel comfortable. I'm a trained pastry chef. I've got my pastry chef whites on because it makes me feel a little bit more like I know what I'm doing in the kitchen. My partner is a trained chef. I'm a trained pastry chef. Thing is, we cook all the time at work. We come home and we're sick of cooking. We get lazy and we just make some pretty basic stuff. Also, it's February 2021. We are 1 year into a global pandemic. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sick of the stuff I make and the stuff he makes. No offense to him, he's a good cook. But thing is, it just gets old, it gets stale. You cook the same things because you're bored or you just kind of lose inspiration. I don't know, at least talking for myself. The other thing I really realized I like is I'm a very tactile person. I like working with food and I like a good cookbook. So when I went to my parents' house recently, I was going through some of my stuff. Yes, I still have things stored at my parents' house. Yes, 38 years old. They were kind of thinking, yeah, you need to get rid of your stuff. So going through my parents' stuff, I found this great book. It's called Cooking with Sense. It was written by two wonderful Canadian ladies in 1983. Happens to be also the year I was born. This book and I both just turned 38 and we're looking pretty great, don't you think? I mean, this book, it was my grandmother's. It's a little worse for wear in some places, a little used. You can tell some of the ones she really liked. And one of the things that I remember of her the most was Yorkshire puddings. Really great recipe. We're not gonna start there. We're gonna start with something easy and something that's gonna help you right away. Start making some new things in the kitchen. So one of the great ideas that I like about this book is they've got some master mixes. So they've got a pastry master mix that you can use for quick breads, pancakes, cookies, muffins, different cakes, different banana breads, things like that. They've also got a white sauce mix, a salad dressing base, they've got a oatmeal cookie base, and they've got a tomato sauce base. So, and these are things that you can have ready to go if you get home from work, if you're working, if you're out of the house, or if you get off the couch because we're in a pandemic and you just binge watch something on Netflix and decide you're hungry and you want to make something, you're already going to have the bases in the fridge or in the freezer ready to go. All you need to do is pop a few ingredients together, throw them in the oven, throw them in a pot. You've got food in no time, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the basic master mix. And this one actually in the book, it makes a lot of different recipes. I'll show you some close-ups. Also in the comments and everything, there's going to be the whole recipe available for you to take a look at, and we'll go from there. So this one, we're going to do a master mix, and it's got white flour, baking powder, salt, and butter. Butter is the magic ingredient here. So actually these ladies, they're cooking with sense. They're trying to make budget-friendly recipes. What they have in their recipe is vegetable shortening, chilled. I'm gonna use butter because I come from a very butter-loving family, let's say. It was butter on butter on butter. Everything was with butter, potatoes with butter, toast with butter. All my friends kind of say like, oh, you really like butter, don't you? It's one of those things I have to have in the fridge. Really specific about my butter, only buy it from a few places, have to have it in the fridge or I get anxious. So I've got butter, salt, baking powder. Careful with those two, don't mix them up. We need baking powder for this one, okay? And we've got white flour. Now, back in the 80s, was way before there was gluten-free or anything like that, but they did have an option for whole wheat flour. So they've tested their recipes. They, in their recipe, call for all-purpose white flour, but they've also given some options, so you could do it with half white flour, half whole wheat flour, or with all whole wheat flour. Anyone who knows, anyone who cooks with a lot of whole wheat flour, it really changes the texture. And they mentioned that in there, basically saying like, the recipes still work out, maybe not as great. They still work. They've tested the recipes with all the three of the mixes, but the recommendation is still with white flour. I grew up in a house with whole wheat flour, I'm going with white flour because now I prefer that texture. I have made this mix with a mixture of whole wheat flour, bread flour, and white flour. Still turns out the recipes still work, but I prefer the white flour mixture. So we're gonna jump right in. What you're gonna need for this recipe, aside from the ingredients, is a pastry cutter or a couple of forks, or if you've got a fancy kitchen gadget that's gonna mix it all for you, even better, and you don't have to have the manual labor portion of it, okay? So we're gonna put, flour's everything is all measured. I'm gonna throw the baking powder. I keep wanting to say baking soda. We're gonna put the baking powder right in. Yeah, here we go. Baking powder in. Salt in. And we're gonna throw in the butter, which I have cut into nice little chunks. Okay. And it's chilled. Maybe a little too chilled. This is gonna be some fun for me. Okay. And here we go. We're just gonna start. You've got the pastry blender, and you're just gonna mix it, okay? And we're gonna mix and mix and mix so we get a nice sandy texture. The fun part. This is the fun part. This is where you're gonna work those muscles that you've been, building all during pandemic. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna store it in the fridge. Okay, when you're ready to use it for another recipe, you probably come back to this video, the first one, to learn about the master mix because you want to make a banana bread or one of the other recipes that I'm going to go into on a later video. So this is basically just how to make this master mix. So I'm going to store it in the fridge because it's got butter in it and I don't want the butter to go rancid. Okay, if you're using something that doesn't need to be refrigerated, you can store it out. Depends also on your climate, wherever you live. If you're in southern Spain in the summer, you really don't want to leave things outside because everything will melt. So I recommend making the mix, throwing it in the fridge, leaving it there till you're ready to make a recipe, then taking it out maybe half an hour before you want to make the recipe. Also not totally necessary, but just to get everything kind of room temperature because it's always better to make a recipe with room temperature ingredients, okay? So here we are, we're mixing, mixing, mixing. Yeah, all those muscles I've been building during pandemic time. Yep. Here we go. I'm gonna mix, mix, mix until it's all nice and sandy texture. And then I'm gonna store it in the fridge. And it's really, really handy to have these mixes at home because really, when I come home and I decide I wanna make banana bread, I wanna make a cake, I wanna make cookies, something like that, I've already got this mix made. Throw in the ingredients. Super fast, super easy. Don't be scared. Really, it's easy. You can do it. Anyone can do it. It's nothing difficult. It's not any exotic ingredients. It's not expensive ingredients. And again, if you're looking towards keeping it on a lower budget, make it with margarine if that works for you. If you want a vegan alternative and you've got a good vegan alternative, go for it. Vegetable shortening. You don't have to have any animal involvement in it, okay? So I'm just gonna keep doing this for a while. Hey guys, so here we are I'm still blending, 3, 4, 5 hours later. Just kidding, doesn't take that long, but you need to blend, 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 use all that arm strength, and then it should be kind of a nice sandy texture. Small lumps of butter, should be all mixed in really. Yeah, should look just like this. Okay, so the next step is we're gonna throw it in a container and throw it in the fridge. Or freezer. You can also freeze it if you have more freezer space. I don't know about you, my fridge is full of mostly hot sauce and pickles, but wherever you have that you can store it there. It's gonna be great, okay? And then next thing we're gonna do is in the next video, we're gonna make banana bread with this recipe, with this master mix. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe below and send me a comment about what kind of recipes you like, what kind of favorite 80s recipes you have. What's your favorite 80s song? I don't know about you, but there are some really good recipes or some really good songs out there from the 80s. I would suggest also maybe to get in the mood if you're making some 80s recipes, listen to the top 100 from the 80s from wherever you're watching from. There's some good ones from Canada, that's for sure. Thanks for watching.